Good evening, and thank you for joining us for this Retail Spotlight as part of Local Enterprise Week 2022. My name is Miriam Simon. I am possibly the country's biggest retail nerd. I have over 30 years retail experience working with businesses of all sizes, helping them to trade and trade well. And I'm delighted to be your host this evening. During this session, we're going to be talking to a host of industry experts about changes in retail, seizing opportunities, staying connected with customers, and using all the various channels available to you. We will be really delighted to put your questions to our guests, so please pop any questions into the chat, and my colleague Sarah from Louth Enterprise Office will feed those questions to me later in the event. This event is hosted by Local Enterprise Office Louth, and we are delighted to welcome so many attendees from every single county across the country to this Spotlight event. Now, today marks the start of Local Enterprise Week with hundreds of events that are designed to help you to grow your business. And we encourage you to visit the website localenterprise.ie/week to discover all the great events that are on offer. There's some amazing events happening this week. We are also using the hashtag Making It Happen this evening. So please do let us know where you've tuned in from and join the conversation using the Making It Happen hashtag. And so now I'm very delighted to introduce our guest of honour, Minister of State for Business, Employment and Retail, Mr. Damien English T.D, to address you.
Good evening, Miriam, and good evening to everyone online tonight. Miriam, I'm not sure that I'm the guest of honour. I was hoping that most of the panel were the guests of honour. I was looking forward to hearing everybody else talking, but I'm certainly happy on behalf of my own department to join in tonight on behalf of myself, Thomas Leo Barker, and Minister Robert Tribe, to say well done to all the Leo Network for all the events that we're organising this week. I had a chance to say a few words at one of the events this morning, but I think we have over 220 events, both in person and online. So it's a massive achievement again by the Leo offices. So well done to everybody. And I'm glad, Miriam, to have a chance that we have a really spotlight event tonight, focusing in on retail, because it's a really, really important sector. And I know it's one that the Leo Network want to get more and more involved in as well, having built a very strong presence there over the last couple of years. So again, thanks to everybody involved. A particular thanks to Louth, Leo, and to Thomas McCabe and all your team. Thomas, for the great work you're doing in retail, not just tonight. I think over the last couple of years, you have some very innovative programs there that were really good results. So we had a chance to talk about before, Thomas, as well. I know you're very passionate about retail. And certainly from a Louth perspective, retail can be tricky when you're a border county, and I recognise that as well for yourself and the other counties on the border too. But in general, the retail sector is really, really important to the country, and it's really, really important to the government. It's probably more important to me because I'm the Minister for Retail. I'm lucky to be that person and to have the opportunity to work with yourselves. And I see Duncan and Jean and many others online today that we get a chance to engage with quite a lot with through the retail forum as well. So I'm lucky to be in the sector at a strong time. I'm conscious we've come through difficult years as well for the retail sector. But many of you have been working really hard, Miriam, as you know, in this, because you're right across the sector. We can see the changes and the opportunities that have developed over the last couple of years, and the amount of companies that took on that challenge and pivoted and changed. It's been fabulous to see. But I know it's been difficult between Brexit and COVID, and now what's going on in Ukraine as well. It makes it very challenging for you guys to be able to trade successfully. So I'm looking forward to working with you in the couple of years ahead to take on the opportunities, but also to try to work with you through the challenging times that we have. I mentioned the Retail Forum earlier on. It was great that we have that forum, bringing together all the retail representative bodies, some of the retailers with our local authorities, our various government departments, and ourselves. A really good, strong presence here to be able to tease through issues and ideas and bring forward solutions and programs and actions as well. But I think more importantly, over the last 2 years, it's helped bring us together in a really cohesive way to deal with the fallout from Brexit and COVID as well. So shout out to the general sector, and well done to everybody, and thanks for having me on here tonight as well. Some of you might have noticed in the last couple of weeks, we're launching the regional enterprise plans. Myself and the Township Minister Robert Tribe have been around the country with the 9 regions. And it struck me at all of those events, again, that retail, one of the strongest, probably private employers in the country, close to 300,000 people employed in the sector, with so much opportunity for many more. But apart from that, you're in every town, every village, and every region. And as we try and grow jobs in the region and recover from COVID through jobs growth, retail is a real opportunity for us to be able to do that and to develop that and to add to what you have already in a strong sector to be able to build on that as well. And again, I've referenced earlier on, we have watched retail adapt over the last couple of years, adapting to changes and trends. And again, despite all the challenges, you're still thriving as a sector as well. It's been an amazing time of innovation and resilience for Indigenous Irish retailers. And you guys, those who are in retail, you're leaders in your sector, and you'll be able to evolve that, use that innovation and drive on, bring out the changes as well. So you should be immensely proud of what you've achieved over the last 2 years. And we certainly recognise it as a government as well. I've said it at similar events before, how important yourselves are as owners, as managers, your teams, and your frontline staff during the last 2 years. You kept the doors open when you were allowed, and you've reached and you served all the customers so well in many different ways. And there's a debt of gratitude there to the retail sector, I would say, as a frontline service for the last couple of years as well. Retail has also paved the way for traditional service industries such as hair and beauty and hospitality to adapt how they do their business and to learn from the changes that you've led with the retail sector as well. You've created exceptional customer service experiences and focus on developing product sales, food delivery, and other virtual services as well. So that innovative, that adaptable and resilient nature of Irish retailers has consistently shown leadership and strength. And I know something that's talked about quite a lot, and Duncan probably touched on it, that whole experience of retail. And that's something that I know you're moving to quite well, something Jean will touch on as well, from all our involvement in Ennistown and way beyond that as well. But it's important that we do recognise that retail is becoming more and more of an experience. And that's something that we want to be able to have that experience online as well as on street as well. And it goes back up to that friendly service and the backup service where we can excel as Irish customers as well. Ireland, and certainly the retail sector, we've embraced the digital transition over the last 2 years. And this has become a major part of the retail landscape. Strategically, this has helped many businesses like yourselves to continue to trade, and in some cases to grow and expand your customer base through some of the difficult closures and disruptions. The trading online voucher administered by the Leos has seen record number of applications over the last 2 years. I think we're over 40 million dished out at this stage, but we're close to 18,000 alone in the last 2 years. The Leos really stood up with that service and really responded, because it's not just as easy as pressing a button. It involves training, it involves sourcing, matching up the right people, but it's been a really successful scheme. And I said it before, years ago, Mary, you know this, it was hard to nearly sell that scheme a couple of years ago when it was first launched. There was very few. And even a good year, 1,000 was seen as a high number. So to say there was close to 18,000 over the last 18 months is immense. And again, the system stood up and was able to deliver that as well. My department also introduced the COVID online retail scheme, which again has been a very useful scheme for the companies above 10. I'm very conscious that Duncan and Jean and many others will say that scheme needs to be adapted to be able to reach those retail sectors below 10, but have strong opportunity to be able to go on and export as well. So we will see changes to that scheme. But again, it's managed to reach over 500 applicants successfully over the last couple of years as well. Another 18 million plus been spent in that area too. So there are schemes we want to build on and do more with as we expand it as well. Perhaps one of the greatest shifts that happened during the pandemic has been the focus on supporting local retail, both online and in person. Again, this was led by the Leos with the whole Look for Local campaign, something that I was delighted to be involved in at different stages. And I think at this stage, we've got 3 versions over 2 summers and a winter version at Christmas time. Really, really good positive results, really strong research, which will back up the success of running those campaigns. And we will continue to do it as well. But like that, we want to adapt and change them as well. But I think our customers now are really trying to look for local. And if we're able to reach them then with our products, with our services as quick as we possibly can with that follow-up service, that's where the real win is going to be. And I've no doubt you've seen it yourselves with your own customer base growing as well. So that shop local mantra, you hear it everywhere you go. And I'm trying to get around the country as much as I can and meet people in different sectors and different businesses across the retail sector as well. And that feedback is there, and you do get from customers as well. Even online, they're telling them to look for a local company first. But again, we still know there's quite a high percentage of customers that we could reach and could have that are trading overseas online, and we want to win them back. And that's what is immense opportunity for us as well. It's also important that there's a strong, diverse and balanced retail presence across the country in our towns and in our cities, which sustains the local and domestic economy and contributes to the export economy as well. This again is recognised and captured in the government's recently published Town Centre First policy, which again, its aim is to create town centres that function as viable, vibrant and active locations for people to live, work and visit, while also functioning as the service hub, the social, the cultural and recreation hub for the local community, to really get a sense of place and sense of community built up in our town centres. A lot of opportunity there. Some of them extremely well. I've come across some town teams that have really good plans already and just want government support to make them happen. So what we're trying to do through this Town Centre First policy is to focus all government departments, to put all our efforts and our resources together, working with the business community, working very strongly through town teams, with retailers like yourselves who know best what's needed in each of these areas. So it's to find a formula that we can all work together. And I think that Town Centre First will bring us all together. It's a very strong framework, and money will be able to follow through that as well. Again, I said earlier on about the collaboration we have through the Retail Forum with the local authorities, government departments, and I'm hoping we can build on that now as we roll out the town centre first and other practical supports to the sector as well. The Retail Forum will support the implementation of the town centre first policy through the establishment of a working group, and I'm conscious that probably some of the members of that working group are online tonight as well, but also that group will support the nighttime economy task force report as well, because there's so much potential again there for the nighttime economy. I think it's those probably 6 to 10, those probably 3 or 4 hours that we want to focus on where the real opportunity is. I'm not sure 2 o'clock in the morning is what we're targeting here, but certainly those early evening hours, a lot of potential there that we could develop our offering. Again, the Retail Forum, with your work and your hard work and your membership, is leading out on strong initiatives in the digital economy, reducing energy costs, skills development, and again, the town centre revival. So again, I want to thank everybody who's took part of our working groups over the last couple of months, but as well as that, who's helped us with our industry-wide research piece with retailers across the country. Really, really strong feedback on that and a lot of involvement as well, which will give us a lot of data and evidence to make policies as well. I want to be very clear though, as a government, we don't underestimate the challenges that still face the retail sector. We know that supply chains are really, really under pressure, even more so in the last couple of weeks. They're incredibly challenging, costs are rising, retailers are struggling to shoulder the price of inflation, and also delays in receiving the product, the cost of the shipping, the scarcity of resources, they're all continuing to be our challenges, and we will work with you through them in the months ahead as well. To capture some of that, as well as the whole issue of a futuristic retail sector, we have commissioned a retail sector study to identify and to analyse these trends and factors. That study will be finished quite soon, and that will feed into the work of the forum and hopefully help us develop an action plan for retail, again, to maximise the opportunity, to maximise the impact of your effort and your resources over the last couple of years as well. A couple of key things I'll touch on as well. I know from talking to your own members around the country, yourselves in retail and through the forum, that labour is a major issue and labour shortages and attracting talent. So we are going to have a specific meeting in 2 weeks' time to focus in just really around the labour and what all the different solutions are on the table to that. But also we want to try to work with yourselves to really develop retail as a career, and retail as a choice and a strong choice, showing all the opportunities and the different mechanisms to get involved through all different levels of education, but certainly the opportunity to learn as you earn through apprenticeship programs, through traineeships and careerships, and all into higher education as well. I think the blend of those two will be the success of retail. But I'm quite conscious, and I said it before, that throughout the sector there's a lot of training going on. But I want to try and capture that if we can nationally and through national qualifications as well, so we can recognise it and build on it as well. 2 other things I want to quickly point out, and Consultant Miriam, probably my time is nearly up, just in relation to the LEOs. Again, they're very keen to work with the retail sector. They're very much involved in the Green for Micro scheme and the Lean for Micro scheme, 2 really successful schemes that are open to the retail sector as well. And the Lean for Micro really successful, the Green is taken off, and hopefully more and more will take up that opportunity as well. So just a final shout out to the 31 local enterprise offices throughout the country. They are there to work with the retail sector. They want to work with the stakeholders. They will work with ourselves as the Department of Trade and Employment, Enterprise Ireland, to develop and enhance schemes that suit your needs as well. So get involved. I'd say to anybody that's in retail now thinking of expanding or changing or going online, or if you're thinking of starting up new, start with your Leo first. Have a chat there and see what assistance you can get as well. So again, looking forward to working with the sector in the years ahead. Looking forward to tonight's debates. I don't say debate, but probably presentations and then follow on Q&A as well. Very interesting speakers here tonight. So thanks for your time, and thanks for having me as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Minister. And some amazing stats there, over 300,000 people employed in retail, and some amazing stats also about the amount of people who did avail of the trading online voucher to get themselves digital, and fantastic to hear about the town centre first policy and the work that's happening there. So thank you very much. We know you're a really busy man, so we're really delighted that you're able to stay for so much of tonight's event. So thank you very much. So I'm going to go on and introduce our first speaker this evening. This is a gentleman who really has his finger on the pulse of the Irish retail sector. So to give us an update on what's happening in retail, I'm delighted to welcome the MD of Retail Excellence, Duncan Graham.
Hi Miriam, how are you?
I'm really good. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. Is that okay?
Well, I hope you are, yeah, because I'm sitting here quietly.
Otherwise, it'll be a quiet evening. So I'm gonna go in straight away, leading on from some of what the Minister was talking about there. So so my first question is, how do you think the pandemic has impacted the way we shop?
Wow, and that's a massive question, isn't it? Because undoubtedly impacted incredibly. I was reflecting on this earlier on today, and I was thinking about 3 years ago, I stood in front of a group of people, a group of retailers, and we were talking around the volatile, ambiguous, complex, uncertain world that we were living in 3 years ago. And, you know, the fact that we'd never keep up with the pace of change. And these were new retailers that were starting out on their career. And now you look at where we are now. You know, it is just incredible what we've gone through. You know, there's people talking around the changes that we saw really in what amounted to the first 9 months of the pandemic were what we expected to see happening over sort of 5 or 6 years.
Absolutely.
Over that short space of time. So, you know, it's changed immeasurably. And I think, look, some of the things clearly, I mean, the minister just referred to it there, didn't he, in terms of the online. And that's the one bit that we can't ignore. I mean, there's a huge surge, but it was actually happening before the pandemic. You know, we were seeing something like 16% of our sales were going through the online route before the pandemic started. But yet you fast forward to November 2020, and I think we were quoting 51% of sales were being done online in November 2020, which was incredible. You know, such an amazing growth. And I think that, you know, we were seeing that thing. I don't know about your children, Miriam, but mine were all sort of sitting there waiting for the DHL man to arrive. Pretty much every day there was a parcel arriving.
Absolutely. You've reminded me of a stat from the December 2020 that An Post recorded that over 7 million parcels were delivered in the month of December alone from Irish retailers alone.
Absolutely.
And that's a phenomenal, you know, I think you're right. Everything's sped up very, very quickly from a digital point of view. And I actually think we were on the front foot as a nation. We were on the front foot because our reaction to the pandemic was to get digital fast. And I actually think that saved a lot of businesses, actually, in the long run. You know, that helped a lot of businesses to survive. So the minister also talked about retail staff and people are in short supply. And I know retail and hospitality especially are having a really grim time trying to get people. So why do you think that is? So yes, you need to solve the problem for us all now. Why do you think that is? No pressure.
Why do I think that is?
And what can we do, Duncan?
So why is it that we've got such a big problem in terms of people?
Yeah.
Well, look, I think if you look at an industry and go, you're going to shut down, you know, half of it for what amounts to 9 months out of the last years, there's the root cause of your problem, you know. And if you think about the people that made up, you know, retailers tended to attract younger people into it, you know. So some of the first jobs we get when we leave school are in retail, aren't they? You know, some of the jobs that were in retail, certainly there was a lot of migrant workers, a lot of European workers that were in retail, a lot of students in retail. And then the pandemic hit. And inevitably, they're the first people, those younger people are the first ones to go, I need some income, what else am I going to do? So they left the industry in their droves. And I think the most punishing time for the industry was that 5 months at the start of last year, when literally, you know, we saw everybody vacating the industry. Businesses, non-essential retail was shut down for that period. It was grim, you know, and that was a year ago. So we're left with a situation where all of those people left the industry, and now we need to replace them. And the people that are going to replace them. And I know that we've had this conversation with the minister recently about work permits for retailers, you know, bring more retailers in. We've had the conversations around, you know, certainly those skilled workers in retail, the need to bring more work permits for those people, to bring more people through the universities into those types of jobs. And that's certainly going to continue. But I think we have a part to play in retail terms, in terms of how we promote it as a career choice. You know, if you look at the perception, I think, that a lot of people have out there about retail at the moment, it is 8 hours a day standing on your feet dealing with customers. And yet there's enormous career choices in retail, and career choices that are changing all the time. So you might join as a sales assistant in a store, but very soon your career choice could move into e-commerce or logistics or something in the back office. There are incredible numbers of career choices that people have got now. that they never had before. And yet equally, I think as retailers, we've got to be flexible enough, and we've got to look at the benefits that a retail career can offer. And we've got to be flexible and think around those benefits. I'm only looking at something that was sent through to me today about the sorts of things that retailers perhaps need to be offering staff, things like gym membership, employee of the month, store of the month.
But it's not just that, Duncan. I think there's an internal marketing piece to be done around retail, because, retail, you need to be really agile. You're more generalist. So the skill sets needed are much broader than in a lot of industries. And I think we're in this period of change. We're at this real tipping point of it's going to be a real war for talent. And if you want good people, and you're going to need good people, and if you want good people, you're right, the packages need to be right, but the development needs to be right. There's a generational thing here happening also, where people want to see what their career path looks like. So
yeah, and we need to train them. We need to look after them.
Absolutely.
Not just we don't just need to train them up to a certain level. We need to think in terms of those people that are in retail careers and how we train the next group of CEOs and senior executives. It has been an industry, particularly in Ireland over the last, for many years, that's been considered, the harder you work, the more you're going to get on. So we certainly need to be able to work. We need to be promoting retailers. If you work smarter, if you can, you don't need to necessarily always be grafting. It's different ways. It's going to need that flexibility in terms of your skill.
Absolutely.
That's going to move you on. So
I'm going to ask you one last quick question, but I'm really conscious of time. I want to ask you one last quick question, and you're getting all the killer blows tonight, so I do apologise. What was I going to say? The costs. So the minister spoke about costs, and this is really at the forefront of everybody's minds, between shipping and people and everything. How difficult is that for retail right now?
I think it's really difficult, because I think the customer is increasingly looking for value. The shoppers want to pay less, and they want more for less. They've got an opportunity. The way we shop in retail terms at the moment is, customers will spend much more time online searching what they want before they then go in and buy it. So, they're increasingly searching around. They've got masses of choice at a time when retailers are sitting there having to deal with significant costs. I mean, you look at the costs of just putting in a new e-commerce system. You look at the costs of supply chain. You look at the costs that are coming from suppliers that passing on raw material costs on to retailers. You look at the cost of the labor side. We're talking about we're fishing in an increasingly smaller pond where the employee is increasingly becoming stronger in terms of what they do. We look at the costs of keeping our premises safe during the pandemic. All of these things have all significantly eroded margin. So what do we have to do about it? What's the future? And I think, increasingly you're going to find retailers reviewing their product range and probably rationalizing their product range. They're certainly going to be looking at how they can reduce the cost of property. We've talked very much around retailing is perhaps the future. We don't need these massive, large footprints of stores in the future. So we'll need less in terms of property. We need to think about how we use our people more. You talk about frictionless shopping, Amazon Go, that type of thing. That's about fewer people. There's nobody on checkouts there. So we need to use our people. And then we need to improve the technology that we have to speed up the supply chain and everything. So there's an enormous, interesting future, but there's no doubt at the moment that margins are under pressure, and that we're going to need to ease these government supports out slowly. No, they're coming to an end, but there's some big challenges down the tracks.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Duncan. Some excellent insights there. And just a reminder, Retailer Excellence are all about supporting retailers to be the best they can be. They already involve 2,000 leading companies across the country, and you can discover more about membership and supports on offer there at retailexcellence.ie. So I'm going to move on, because this is it's a punchy evening this evening. We've got lots to get through. So our next speaker, I'm very excited about this next speaker also. Not that I wasn't about you, Duncan. Next speaker is a leader at the front of ladies fashion retail in particular. Jean McCabe is the MD of Willow Group, who are one of Ireland's leading women's retailers. And Jean has always been recognised as a real innovator in retail, leading from the front. And she's going to talk to us this evening a little bit about managing through continuous change. You're very welcome, Jean.
Thank you so much for having me, Miriam. Appreciate it. I'm just going to share your screen with you. Just to give you context, we're based in Ennis, County Clare. We're a small retailer with a good online presence. And in 2019, we were winner of the Retail Excellence Store of the Year. And to give you context, it's all about the customer experience and delivering on that. And the year after us, in 2020, the winner was Brown Thomas Grafton Street. So I like to say they robbed all my ideas from the year before. So I'm going to share you my screen. So to bring you through a whirlwind presentation. So our store is based here on O'Connell Street. Beautiful, pretty window displays and that overspill onto the street that blurs the line from in-store and outside. And I kind of like to think of it as that we're hugging our customer as they approach the store. And it's great VM and displays, never really costing an arm and a leg. This is made from tulle, from guineas and a bit of cardboard. So just with a bit of innovation, it's amazing what you can achieve as a small SME. We plant lavender in the springtime, so even we're catching the customer's senses when they're walking past the door. And in the autumn, we hint again at that display of autumn winter coming into the store. And one thing that's really, really important to us as retailers is, as a retailer, is our tone of voice and how our customer perceives us. So as you can see, our messaging from the outside hints that we're a bit of fun and that we don't take ourselves too seriously. And that board says, your husband called, he said to buy anything that you want. And I often like to think of Willow as a person. Who is she? What does she look like? You know, what's her sense of humor like? So for me, I'd often describe her as, she's a little bit prim and proper. She comes across very well presented, has a good job, but really all she wants is a gin and tonic and a good dirty joke. And that's exactly how we think of her in everything that we do throughout the store. And the minute you walk into our store, we're hugging you again with great displays and great VM, always changing and adapting. This is a little pop-up that we done in store with a local artist, Audrey Hamilton. Again, making a visit to Willow, not just about buying a product, it's actually about the whole experience and what the journey feels like as you walk through the store. And for us, again, it's, you know, I like to think of it as a journey of discovery, that every time you pop through, you're seeing something new that's a little bit different. And there's a message to you that's resonating, whether it is buy a scarf, they always fit, or nothing haunts us like the things we didn't buy. But we're always hinting back to our humor and making it a really warm and safe environment for the customer. This here is our fitting rooms, probably one of the most neglected spaces in retail. We're all familiar with what it looks like when you go to Zara and how it's not anyway inviting and it's always cold and dirty. For us, we do the opposite, because if you think about it, this is the place where your customer decides whether they want to buy or not buy. So it's actually one of the most valuable spaces in your store, and it's an opportunity for you to really make them feel safe and make them want to spend time in your store and spend money with you. We go that one step further. We have a little Prosecco bar with Prosecco on tap for our customers. And on a Saturday, it becomes this little social haven where strangers are interacting with each other and engaging in conversation and commenting on that dress. And more often than not, they actually end up selling the product to each other, and the sales staff get to sit back and relax that little bit. But don't worry, gentlemen, we haven't forgotten about you either. So we have a little safe haven for you too to disappear into when you're wandering around aimlessly after your partner and don't know where to go and where to disappear to. So we've embraced that. A little gentleman's corner. There's an iPad, there's charging station for your phones. We have beer that we offer to gentlemen and give it out for free. So always looking for ways to kind of, I call it going beyond customers' expectations, never just good service. It has to be exceptional if you want people to talk about you. And there's little ways that you can do that. But you cannot forget about the digital world. So when you look at the numbers, it was mentioned earlier, 81% of shoppers research online before they buy. And for us, it was really important that we also embraced people the same way online. So there is a challenge there in bringing that in-store experience online. Here, this is one way we've done it with creating a gentleman's corner on the website for Mother's Day and for Valentine's, curating products, making it really easy for them to shop and to buy. We bring it in store. So we bring our social information into the store. So when people are tagging their most favorite product on Instagram or liking the most pinned items on Pinterest, we bring that information into the store and display it to make it really easy for the customer to shop. Because if you think about it, our customer certainly doesn't differentiate between your online world and your store world. Yet a lot of retailers operate them in silo. So we brought them into the store in really simple, cost-effective ways. This is an Instagram story you see with outfits outlined for a customer that they'd see on their Facebook feed and their Instagram feed. And often they come into the store with their phone, wondering where they can find that outfit. Instead, we put the display together every week with all the products merchandised really simply and easily for them to shop. Another way to bring that digital world back into your store and to bring your store online is to use your content that you have for your website, those great POS images you get from your suppliers or item shots you take yourself. Bring the products to life in store by using them on cards to show what it looks like on the model. Another way another thing we can't do without is good people. So what is the point of all this digitalization and in-store experience if you don't have good people to put it together? So you'll see here, this is a black and white photograph of one of my managers. And on the wall in the fitting room, you'll see a black and white photograph of some of the team that all work in the store. And it creates that talking point for customers when they come in. But our people are central to everything that we do. So we've been forced to look at what we do. So if you read this, 69% of employees are more likely to stay with a company for more than 3 years if they receive a really good onboarding process. So for us, like everyone, it's been a real challenge trying to hold on to and retain staff. We've lost some great people to Rent the Runway, only based in Galway, or to Shopify. So we've had to really relook at everything that we do. Where are we going wrong? Why aren't they staying longer than 3 years? So one big part is onboarding, and I'm just going to give you a few little oversights that we've implemented over the last number of months to help us with that process. So first point is first impressions count. So for us, the journey of when we're taking on somebody new onto the team is about a week out from when they start their start date, and they get their lovely welcome email. They also get this beautiful box, all branded Willow, with their water bottle and their keep cup. And it's this welcome package. And if you think about it, it kind of sets the tone of exactly what it is like to join the Willow culture. And that it's stating that, you know, it's an unexpected gift, demonstrating a deep appreciation for our employees from day one, and a nice way to welcome them to the team. I think but it's not just about the box that awaits them. It's also all the touch points that they have. So if you think about it, a customer walks into your store and you're imagining all the touch points that they have, what experience they have. We need to do the exact same for employees. We need to look at all the touch points that they have with our company from the onset. So we found that making sure that a really good onboarding process is taking place over the first 12 weeks. We have a buddy program where another employee becomes their BFF, meets them their first day, goes for lunch with them on their first day. Over the next 12 weeks, they go for lunch every second week with different members of the team so that they all get to connect and they all get to know each other. They also have to provide that lovely little black and white photograph you saw on the wall that is placed in our canteen, in our online warehouse. Again, just making them part of the team and showing them that we're not just a corporate entity, that you're much more part of the family. Then I guess one other thing that we've had to do is re-looked at our whole structure around working remotely. So we now, even though we're a bricks and mortar retailer and we have an online presence, we now have our office team, which consists of about 6 people now working remote 2 days a week on a Monday and Friday. And as a small retailer, you know, sometimes you kind of think, God, can I compete with the big guys? But we just have to. That's our job right now, is we have to compete, because that's what we're all, I suppose we're all going for the same talent pool. So I guess in today's world, we have to be adaptive and we have to be innovative, and we have to attract the customer and attract the talent in the exact same way. And I'm going to leave you there.
Thank you very much. Can I just say, I absolutely love the onboarding process. That's fantastic. And that's something that a lot of us watch other industries do. And it's something very simple to make people feel very at home. I just want to give you, there was a comment there that came down from Fergal. He says he'll be down for some sanctuary. So the gents corner went down very, very well there. Very, very well there. So we've just time for one very fast question. If I was to ask you for your top 2 or 3 tips on how to bridge that gap between physical retail and digital, because, you know, quite often, particularly for the retailers who have one site, they're everybody. So what were your top tips for marrying between physical and digital? I thought it was a great idea that you had the Instagram outfits on display there, but any other top tips on how to prioritize?
I guess it's the information that you're relaying online. How do you relay that in store in a really simple way, and vice versa? Yeah. Relaying what you're doing in store online. Even when you talk about people there, we found that once we started sharing more behind the scenes, kind of a sneak peek of behind the scenes of what we're up to, and you got to see the team dynamic, and you got to see the bit of fun and the bit of, you know, what we were like to work for. We got more applications. People referenced, oh, they saw so-and-so on Instagram and thought like it looked like a nice place to work. So we've been kind of strategically using it in that way to also attract people to start with, to come with us. But it's making sure that your information is going across all the channels and the customer is able to see it all. It's almost been quite open and transparent.
Fantastic, like some real inspiration there. Very well done, and thank you for sharing that with us this evening. And I'm sure there'll be some questions coming later on, so thank you very much, Jean. Really appreciate it. So that was Jean of Willow Group, and you can discover more about Jean by checking her out at visiting willow.ie. And just a reminder that we are using the hashtag Making It Happen, so join the conversation using the Making It Happen hashtag. Now, also just a reminder to keep putting your questions into the Zoom chat below. We have like a fireside chat with all of the panelists at the end of this evening. So please do continue to get your questions in there. But that was really, really inspiring. Next speaker is a coach, a mentor and a trainer, and this is a lady who lives and breathes retail. With over 30 years experience in the sector, Orla McDonnell is a specialist in customer acquisition and retention, and this evening she's going to talk to us to give us some guidance on communicating with customers in order to build loyalty and drive sales. So Orla, you're very welcome.
Miriam, thank you for that very kind introduction. Hi folks, delighted to be here. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's all you've got. 7 seconds is all you've got to make an impression. It says that on average we make a judgment within 7 seconds. So you may have already made a judgment on me if you have not met me before. So we have 7 seconds to show off our business and to show off ourselves. So how can we do that? I'm delighted to be here tonight to talk to you about 2 practical, actionable things that you can take away tonight and implement into your business that will make a difference. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about is the power of video. And the second thing that I want to talk to you is about creating a more immersive, engaging customer experience. So the first thing is the power of video. We've heard over the last couple of years that video is where it's at, but it has never been more precedent than it is today, and it is still increasing exponentially. So, you know, that is going to keep growing for the next 5 to 10 years. And there's so much opportunity around video, and in particular, TikTok. And if you're not using TikTok, well, I'm here to tell you, now is the time to TikTok. And there's a lot of reasons to be using TikTok. The first one is a lot of retailers are on the Instagram platform and have had really good success with Instagram. But Instagram has done huge changes over the last couple of months to try and really compete with TikTok. And the thing about TikTok is there is huge opportunity to get real organic growth. For those of you who remember where you got growth on Facebook in the heydays, that opportunity lies within TikTok today. Now, TikTok obviously is a video sharing app, but it's a very fun, engaging TikTok process. So some of you could be sitting there today and say, no, this is not for me. And I asked if any of you are aware of Richard Grogan, who is a solicitor. Okay, not a traditional, not in the retail space, but he has, God, he has 131,000 followers. How has he got that on TikTok? You would say that's not for him. Someone else, Ruby Rouge, is a fantastic Irish clothing business that uses video extremely well and is starting to get some momentum on TikTok. It's a Northern Irish business. It's called Board of Lunch. In 7 months, he has been able to grow his followers to over 252,000 followers. Some of his videos have got millions and millions of hits. I'm not going to tell you that every video you put up is going to get you millions of hits. You know, I have worked with some videos that we've got hundreds, and then we've got some videos where we've got 50, 60,000 hits. But the thing about TikTok and the power of video is around in the ecosystem a lot longer. You can repurpose it. But the one thing that I would say about using video in TikTok as opposed to Instagram is Instagram will give you 24 hours, maybe 48 hours. TikTok, 3-6 months down the line, your video can still be appearing. It still lives in the ecosystem. So I can't recommend enough for you to use TikTok. Now, the beauty of TikTok is it allows you to showcase your product. It allows you to showcase your business. It allows you to showcase your people. On average, get this stat, on average, 90% of users are on the platform for 52 minutes every day. So that is huge opportunity for you to tap into. It's the fastest growing app. It has over 1 billion users, active users a day, monthly users. It also is really about fun. And if you go and you look, Ryanair have had great success on TikTok. And the reason why they've had great success is they haven't taken themselves too serious. It's very much about tongue in cheek and very much about fun, but it's also about building community. And the great thing about that is that they are commenting and they're actually asking for brands to comment on some of their posts, which is obviously building community, but it's getting lots of reach. And for those of you who don't understand how TikTok works, as of last week, they've introduced now 3-minute videos. So you can produce a video from anything up to 3 minutes. I would suggest 8 to 15 seconds is the sweet spot, and that's where you're having a little bit of fun. And anything up to 3 minutes is really where you're teaching the customer something, or you're doing a how-to video. Now, the beauty is they've also now introduced orders. You can now place orders within TikTok. So that allows your customer to place orders. It has the same infrastructure as Amazon, so you can see the order history on it. It allows you, as of last week, to bring still photographs, and it will jig it about and add audio to it and rearrange it and create a video for you. There is so much opportunity within the TikTok app for you to do to really showcase your business, but also your products. And the one thing that works particularly well on TikTok is a controversial post. So a particular post where maybe wedding trends that are outdated, you know, you could have huge success. And the thing about this kind of thing with video is that you don't have to have a big marketing budget. You can do this on a shoestring, absolutely. Go get promo videos, use them for your website and repurpose them. But also use your team, get your people involved. It doesn't have to be you that does the videos all the time. And by doing that, you are actually going to start to meet your customers where they're at. I noticed Jean said there that over 81% are researching before they go in store. Actually, 59% of shoppers are using their mobile devices in your store. As they stand in your store, they are researching their product, the item, to compare costs, research deals, and coupons. And the reality is that nowadays people can buy anything they want online. So what differentiates you? So you need to be creating that experience and bringing that virtual world inside your store. And a great way to do that, which you can do yourself, is very quickly to create QR codes, put a video to it, to your best-selling top, your product, stick the QR code either on your shelf or on your arm. And when your customer is in there on the phone, let them scan that code. Let them see that product come to life. Let them be using that time researching your product rather than the internet for better deals. And you can repurpose your video across many, many platforms. So Google owns YouTube, but think about how you actually use Google or YouTube. You always go on how to. I know I'm always on YouTube when I need a how to. So how can you bring that to life for your products? Can you do how to wear a scarf in 10 ways? How to wear this year's jeans or something, or boots, or, you know, how to maybe, you know, I'm trying to think from a product point of view, what you could do, how to display flowers, how to get flowers to last longer, all these different things that you can do. The other thing about video is it obviously appeals to a Gen Z audience, which is really, really important. And remember, as Irish people, we're very good at storytelling, and video really allows us to bring our story to life. So don't be afraid of video, and in particular TikTok. And you can use TikTok and Instagram. Facebook 2 weeks ago just took in Reels, but Facebook and Instagram are going to want you to pay for it. TikTok do have advertising, but you still have great organic reach there, and I would say definitely get behind it. The other thing that I would say to you is how to create a more immersive, engaging customer experience. At the end of the day, your people are either your ambassadors or your assassins. So let's get those people working for you. We're talking there that you need to be creating that experience within store. So give them the training, give them the tools that they need to give your customer that really fantastic experience that they're going and they're shouting about your business. Because really, at the end of the day, we can go onto Amazon and we can buy whatever we want in 2 or 3 clicks. You know, so why should they come visit your store? And, you know, you can compete on price, but as we all know, that is literally a race to the bottom. So if we take Victoria's Secret, for example, they know that people want the bra fitting. So they make sure that all their associates are equipped with a tape measure, training, and plenty of product solution. We look at Nike, and they host weekly run clubs out of its stores, while Lululemon offers in-stores yoga. All very easy, but all very simple. You know, if we want to bring a little bit of augmented reality, we can look at Sephora, who actually let women experiment with false eyelashes and contour and makeup. So creating that experience isn't difficult. It just takes a little bit of training and a little bit of planning. So some final thoughts for you. Creating your relationship with your customer is directly tied to your financial well-being of your business. So building stronger customer relations will develop customer loyalty and retain valuable long-term customer, increasing revenue from repeat purchases. The way that your customers interact with your business will determine how you keep them engaged and coming back. As I already said, discounting and price matching is only a race to the bottom and will only leave your customer with products, but not much more. So really the thing to do is make that experience momentum, a souvenir for your customer that will keep them returning and returning again and again. So folks, be marvelous.
Thank you, Orla. Now, we're a bit out of time here, so I've got one very fast question for you that's come through in the chat. TikTok, is it just for the kids? Is it just, is it not aimed at a very young market?
Not at all. I mean, it's like, we used the example of Richard Grogan, Richard is what? In his 50s? I better be kind here in case I get attacked.
Be kind.
Yeah, be kind. He had over
in his late 30s. His late 30s.
He had over 131,000 views. And I'll give you a quick tip on TikTok, which is phenomenal, is that you can actually see everybody's video stats. If you look to your competitor or someone who inspires you, you can see which video has got millions of views and which has got like 100 or 200. So look at that and think how you can not copy it, but how you can recreate that for your business.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Orla. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm moving along here swiftly so that we get everything in tonight. Now, if the last 2 years have taught us anything, it is that omni-channel selling is where it's at. It's truly arrived. So the ability for your customers to be able to shop with you, whether they're next door, whether they're on the next continent, whether it's 3 o'clock in the morning, whether you're open or closed, it's all now non-negotiable. The customer expects access 24/7, and that's where you need to be. So to talk to you now about how to harness omni-channel selling, I'm delighted to welcome Aidan Harte. Aidan has a couple of companies, one called Customer Perceptions and Optimum Results. He has incredible insights into consumer behaviour and attitudes and retail management and development. You're very welcome, Aidan.
Many thanks indeed, Miriam, and both Jean and Orla have set the stage beautifully for me in some of the examples that they brought up. So this term omni-channel, I suppose you could kind of tell looking at me that I've been around for a while, and we've been working with SMEs for 27 years, and there's always been change, but now change is probably more rapid and more dynamic than it ever was before, and we need to move with it. So, I mean, the word omni simply means everywhere, everything, and the word channel is a traditional word, I suppose, that we've always used for a mechanism for communicating with and serving customers. So, in the first instance, we have a few good news facts, and that is that well over 90% of shoppers actually want to support local retail SMEs and local jobs, but we must facilitate them. We must let them help. We must help ourselves to help them to do business with us. And then I don't need to tell anybody, the last 2 years has been hugely influential with the COVID period in terms of people who how their attitudes have changed towards the use of online, and this has gone across all sectors and all age groups. So technology has to be part of our strategy going forward, regardless. And we have numerous examples of omni-channel sales in the large corporate world, but we need to study and be comfortable with the fact that it applies to the small business just as well. And there are things we can do and exciting things we can do. And Orla just talking about TikTok and videos and use of the phone in the shop and so on, is hugely supportive of that. So to a large degree, technology, let's think about omni-channel as doing what we've always done and using technology to make it better, quicker, smarter, faster. And in that regard, there's oodles and bundles of evidence to verify that it allows small businesses to play ball with the big boys in terms of the retail world and also increase customer satisfaction and retention. So we won't spend any great amount of time on this because it's not a night for definitions, but I mean, it's not just about using different technologies, it's about actually bringing them all together into a sort of a cohesive, coherent, joined up mechanism. And that diagram shows it quite well. And on the left-hand side, we had our traditional single channel customer bricks and mortar store relationship, and then over recent years we've had websites, and now we have phones, and then slightly more sophisticated, they got cross-channel. But this is where we want to get to, where we actually have an interconnected, flexible but coherent and constant message in terms of our customer, the message for the customer and the customer experience. So my advice to small business is, in the first instance, keep it simple. You're going to get good at this over a period. You're not going to get, if you don't know much about it, and if it's all new, there is no magic wand. It's like building up any skill. You need to get good at it over a period, but keep it going. The minister covered off this first point very well at the outset when he was talking about the neo trading vouchers, online vouchers, and get yourself some expert advice. Get yourself a good mentor, or use the neo trading voucher to get you a consultant that will help you through the process. And then small business managers, and I'm as guilty as anyone in that regard, owner managers of SMEs, we have to develop new working practices and habits. And then we won't go far wrong if we always think customer first. And if you think customer, Miriam made reference to our company, Customer Perceptions, and in the last 26 years, Customer Perceptions has done an amazing 1.5 million mystery shops. And it's quite amazing when you take the data apart and put it back together again in its simplistic form. Customers do business with people who are nice, and where they have a pleasant experience, and where they meet genuine people who are genuinely concerned about satisfying their needs and creating the whole happy customer thing. And it's remarkable over the 26 years how technology may have changed at leaps and bounds, but the basic underlying thinking and the behavior of customers actually still puts that way up at the top of the list. Then if you think about omni-channel, with the multiplicity of tools at your disposal, including things like TikTok, your website is your shop window, and social media can become your voice. And social media and the shop window coming together works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and unlike your store, which is only open for specific times. And then create a customers club. And I don't mean it literally, but the concept of a customers club, where we have followers and where we have members, and we have people that are associated with us, and people who actually want to hear from us on an ongoing basis.
Aidan, that you're covering some great stuff there. Can I ask you a couple of questions? Because you've just covered some really meaty things there. So I'm just jumping in. So you talk about the small business managers must develop new working practices and habits. What do you mean by that?
Miriam, for all of the years we've been in the SME development business, we've watched the pattern with owner managers typically working extremely hard every day to the point whereby they don't have time to manage the business. And they know that things like omni-channel sales are hugely important, but oftentimes with the best will in the world, they actually go to work in the morning, the day takes over and so on. And you need to develop a discipline to create time to actually do the things that are hugely important. And this evolution that we need to pass through fairly smartly in the development of technology as an integral part of our business every day, it's not a choice. Rather flippantly, the last bullet point on my slides actually says you have a choice. It's a bit like you have a choice in terms of breathing. You know, you can choose to stop, but the results aren't very pleasant. So
fantastic. And you talk a little bit about advertising there as well. particularly, the website, your shop window and social media. What sort of content do you think, or advertising or messaging do you think customers want to see?
And again, I mean, if you look at the absolutely beautiful pictures that Jean had, and I mean, whoever it was that said a picture is worth 1,000 words was wrong. It's worth 1,000,000 words. And if you have an attractive, bright and airy website, and it sounds a bit nonsensical to be talking about a bright and airy website, but I mean, some are, and they're a joy to visit, and they've got stuff on them that's of use and of interest, and that relates to the customer's club idea. Because if you start giving really good information away for free, be it about diet or lifestyle or well-being or resilience or fashion or health or whatever it happens to be, and if you get known for your social media posts and this information being available in blogs on your website and so on, over time you'll actually get people visiting your website because they want to, rather than because you want them to. So with the time available to us, just in terms of getting a flavor for the mix of things in this omni-channel world, the first example there just talks about a shopper who can research stuff online, then they can compare it across a number of outlets, and then they can go and visit the chosen supplier and purchase it. Or alternatively, they can do the opposite of that, and they can actually research it by speaking to some sales staff. We've actually seen, and again, Jean and Orla both sort of touched on this. We've seen over the years with very, very good retailers where the customer goes to the good and knowledgeable retailer for information, but unless you actually have the closing skills to do the business there and then, they can go off to the cheap place and buy it. So again, the second example looks at somebody who purchases a product on your website or directly. And this is critically important because the number of small businesses that we see that aren't capturing customer information, and it's a dreadful waste. So now you have a record of that customer, and when you bring on some new or similar or complementary products, you can send them a text message, or you can send them an email, you can phone them up, or whatever it happens to be. And apart from building the all-important customer relationship, you're obviously increasing your sales. And then there's also, particularly for small retailers that are cut for space, this new world allows you to actually promote products that you may not be able to keep in stock, and either have them delivered quickly, or indeed a customer of ours who trades in phenomenal quantities of goods doesn't ever take stock himself, and they're always delivered directly to the customer with prepayment, which is even better still. So in the wrap up, a couple of important points, and I go back to the fact again, and both Jean and Orla touched on this as well. This omni-channel sales, or the use of technology and TikTok and social media and website, it's a bit daunting for a lot of people. And I love that quote there, that change is hard at first and it's messy in the middle and it's gorgeous at the end. And you just need to keep at this stuff. So involve your team, and particularly those of us of a certain age group. Get the young people involved. They're really very smart and they're very good at this stuff. And talking about onboarding and staff retention, there is untold amount of oceans of data to verify that if staff are involved, they're likely to stay with you and be better contributors. Talk to your customers. I never fail to think of the wonderful late Super Queen, Fergal Quinn, when he has just lived and built probably arguably one of the finest retail businesses in the country, solidly based on the fact of keep talking to customers every day. Ask them their advice. And there's a wonderfully clever retailer who's a customer and a friend of ours, and he has this wonderful line, particularly with people he knows well, and he says to them, if this place was yours in the morning, what would you do with it? What would you change, and so on. So be innovative, watch YouTube clips well covered earlier, seek expert advice and make a plan. That wonderful old saying that if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. Have a plan and use the trading online voucher to get an expert to help you. And take the first steps. Don't get tired of the process. Don't get bored. Be disciplined and keep this thing going. And because this is an endless process. So there, Miriam, I think that brings us quickly, very, very quickly through a mountain of stuff.
I know, absolutely. Thank you very much, Aidan. And you can see more of Aidan at optimumresults.ie. So I am going to crack on now and talk a little bit myself. So I'm going to be introducing all the panel back later, but I'm going to share the screen now and take you through some trends. I'm hoping everybody give me a wave if you can see that screen. I'm hoping you can see the screen okay there. So just to give you a little bit of background on me, retail nerd, total retail nerd, live and breathe it, 30 years in the business, working both with retail of all sizes and also working a little bit in the innovation space from a mentoring point of view. So just want to take you on a whistle-stop tour of some of the trends that I see unfolding. Now, I'm just going to make sure my computer is working here. Right, I want to begin by saying well done. And anybody who's seen me talk before, I always start with this slide. A very well done, because you're still here. And not only are you still here, you're here. And that means that you are somebody who is all about taking your business forward to the next level. So very well done to begin with. And just a reminder that we work in the most dynamic industry that there is. Retail is the most dynamic industry. And that's because it is essentially a reflection of life. And the best retailers, the people who are very successful in retail, are often the ones that notice the things that we are, or the habits that we are changing as consumers, and then lean in to service those new needs and those changing needs of the customer. So, quick reminder, retail is a reflection of life. And there are three overarching global trends that are impacting retail and have been since before the pandemic and continue to impact. And they are localization, sustainability, and phygital, which is the relationship between physical retail and digital retail. And I'm not going to do a deep dive of the three of them, but rather I thought you would get more value if I was just take you on a 10-minute trip of the top trends that I see unfolding over the next years. And they will touch on these three global overarching trends. So let's get started. Trend number one, and some of you may recognize this picture out of the newspapers over the last couple of weeks. So the first trend I want to talk to you about is cashless convenience. Now, some of you may have heard the term over the years of removing friction, or frictionless retail, or cashless retail. And on the 16th of February in Ireland, the very first cashless convenience store opened. And it was the Compass Group opened it in Clonskeagh. They opened Ireland's very first cashless, frictionless store. And the reason why I'm showing you this picture is because I do believe that this is going to be the new arms race, particularly for grocery and convenience retailers across the next few years. And Aldi, Sainsbury's, Tesco's, just to name a few, are all trialing and working on prototypes and concepts of this same sort of model store. So there are a lot of retailers who are scrambling behind the scenes to work very hard on this. And Amazon Go, the big daddy of them all, has 32 Amazon Go's in the United States and 15 Amazon Go's in the UK. And just to give you a little bit of context on the speed of how quickly that is happening, Amazon Go opened their very first UK store in the middle of March last year, so less than a year old. And by the end of the year, they had 15. And they actually have quite an aggressive plan to open 260 stores within the next 3 years. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that over the next few years, we're going to see frictionless and cashless retail happen in grocery convenience, but it will become cross-category possibly by the end of the decade. So watch this space. This is one you should be watching with interest. And then I'm going to move swiftly on to talk a little bit about love. The next trend is actually something that is a massive opportunity for lots of sectors across retail, or lots of categories, and that is love, weddings. So there are touted to be 54,000 weddings booked so far in Ireland this year alone. That is over 1,000 couples per week tying the knot this year. And it will be the biggest year for love in almost 30 years. We will not have seen those numbers of weddings happening since the mid-90s, I believe. So not just that, the weddings themselves are going to be bigger and bolder than ever before. We're going to see a lot more themed weddings, lots of colour, and this is fantastic for hospitality in particular, and will help them recoup. I was talking to 2 large venues last week. One had 203 weddings booked for this year alone. The other was booked out at 3 weddings per week right up until the end of 2023. So great for hospitality, and will help a lot of hospitality businesses recoup some loss. However, it's not just about the couple that's getting married, and it's not just about the wedding party. Also think about all of the guests. We're all going to be attending loads of weddings, and that means hair, beauty, floristry, stationery, photography, clothing, footwear, gifts, wedding lists, the list goes on. So I would challenge everybody to think about how can your business lean in and serve the consumer and help the consumer with what their needs might be in this trend that is occurring as we speak. So weddings, another key trend for this year. Now, pop-up shops. So I do want to talk to you about pop-up shops, because pop-up shops are evolving at pace, and we're going to see real changes in the nature of pop-up shops over the next couple of years. So in the top left-hand corner, I'm hoping you all do recognise Mr. Tato. I'm hoping he's still called Mr. Tato this time next year. But this is pop-up, that top left-hand corner. That is a brand activation pop-up, the traditional sort of pop-up shop that we're all used to seeing. In the bottom left-hand corner, you'll probably see there the lovely Grania from Gra Chocolates, and this is a lovely photograph to mark her collaboration with Brown Thomas, where she has a pop-up store in there. And we're going to see more and more of the collaboration between the larger department stores, bringing in new and emerging brands and innovators and exciting new things to show what's new to their customers. That's not a new concept, but we're going to see more of it over the coming years. But I'd like to bring your attention to the picture on the right there, which is at the moment a very sterile looking box, but this is a new type of model of pop-up, and this particular brand of this type of pop-up is called Souk for obvious reasons. And this is a type of pop-up where you can activate or rent a space for 1 or 2 weeks, or even for 1 or 2 hours, if that's all you want it for. And you can either fill that space with physical product, or you can activate the space digitally, or you can do a combination of both. So you might have an event there, or you might just try and do some digital activation with the interactive screens. And it's almost like a concierge service for pop-up stores. But what it does is it enables you to try out a new market without even setting foot in that market. So watch this space. This is a sort of new generation of pop-ups that we will start to see emerge over the next couple of years. And I would be very remiss if I didn't talk about sustainability. You know, the Minister mentioned green for micro there, and this is a really important part of retail. So I want to talk to you a little bit more of a little bit of back to the future stuff here. So we are going to see more and more traditional retail models start to re-emerge also. So in the top left-hand corner there, we have the gorgeous Carol, who I have to do a plug for Drogheda, who owns My Little Jar in Drogheda. And My Little Jar is a grocery store, but the difference is that it is modeled as a waste-free grocery store, no packaging. And we're going to see, we are already beginning to see actually more and more of this type of retail pop up across the country. And there is high demand for it, may I say. On the right-hand side there is a photograph from Brown Thomas, the new Brown Thomas in Dundrum, just giving them a plug also. And you can see one nice sneaker, one nasty sneaker. And this is Brown Thomas's, and Arnott's have the same service. They now have a footwear and handbag refresh service. So what you can do is you can take in your old handbag or sneakers, and they don't need to have been bought on the premises either, by the way, because I checked. You can take in your old gear and get them refreshed to make them look better and last longer. And we're going to see more and more of these mend and make do retail models start to re-emerge. And then also the rental model down at the bottom. You know, we will start to see more rental models start to emerge, and it won't just be on clothing, it'll be on, you know, larger ticket items also, but the clothing will come in handy for all the weddings that we're all going to be attending. And now this is one of my favorite subjects. Orla touched on it, QR codes. So the biggest comeback kid that was caused by the pandemic was the QR code. So a QR code is not a new thing. They were invented in 1994, and they were initially invented by a chap called Denzo Wave, and they were initially created to track car parts for Toyota cars. That is how they first came into the world. And the QR stands for quick response. So QR means quick response code. That's all it means. It's nothing too fancy. And what has happened during the pandemic is these guys they are the comeback kids. They have become mainstream, and really big time mainstream. So, you know, we will have all experienced sitting outside to order our dinner and scanning the QR code on the menu to see the menu and to order. Here are just a few examples. They are going to be everywhere, by the way, and a very democratic thing because it is completely free to print off a QR code. So top left-hand corner, this is a beautiful visual display in the middle of the mall in Kildare Village, beautifully curated, and you'll see there's a little sign by the side of it, and the customer can see this gorgeous display, and if they want to buy the products, they scan the QR code and it will take them to the websites to buy the products. The bottom left-hand corner there, this is a queue in one of the multinationals. I think it's in one of the Inditex groups, it might be COS, and everybody in the queue was scanning the QR code while they were waiting, A, to kill time, B, because it was a bit of gamification, but C, they got a little bit of discount by scanning and giving away all of their data, obviously. So another very clever use of the QR code. Top right-hand corner there, this is very clever. This is in Shanghai. This was at the end of last year, and the QR code you are seeing was built in the sky by something like 2,000 drones, and it was a PR thing for a gaming company, and a very effective one because thousands of people looked up into the sky and downloaded the game. So very effective use of QR codes. And then one of the most simple ones, the bottom at the right there, this is a shop window for a Reebok sneakers store. And what they have is they have box after box, and they have the sneaker, and then underneath is the QR code. So whether you're walking past the store on your way home, having had a few jars at 2 o'clock in the morning, you like the sneaker, you can scan the code and you can buy it. And you'll notice even I use the QR code instead of my website logo on my slides. So QR codes are going to be really big business. And again, as I said, very democratization of retail here, because anybody can print off a QR code. All you do is Google and you put your code, whichever the link is that you want to create the code for, and it will give you the code ready to print. So this is something that anybody can do, and it does not cost money. And that brings me nicely onto the next generation of e-commerce. So the last 2 years were very much about getting a digital presence, very much about getting social media and getting a good website up and running. And the next 2 years are going to be very much now about improving that digital digital presence. So it's going to be about enriching the online and e-commerce experience for the customer to make it feel less transactional and maybe a little bit more real. And believe it or not, that's easier to do than you would imagine. It's easier to do than you might think. So, we're hearing a lot about virtual reality and metaverses and all of that. Here are two very simple examples, and they're two of very many. So at the bottom there, I think it's a company called Rapid 360. They're based in Navan. And what they do is they go into a retailer and they take a 360-degree photograph stroke video, and the customer on the website can then feel like they're, using the arrow, travel around the store and physically see the store while they're online. And then if they like a product, they can click on it and they can buy it. Now, this really gamifies the retail experience. It's very inexpensive. It costs less than a trading online voucher, but actually it's very suited to retail categories that don't change too rapidly. So probably too hard to do for fast fashion, but really good for jewelers, really good for electrical stores, really good for shoe stores, sorts of stores where the product doesn't change too rapidly and has seasonal changes rather than daily changes. So on the top right hand corner, this is a screenshot, and you can see that all my tabs were open when I stole this screenshot. This is a screenshot of Fee&Co Boutique, who are based in County Fingal. And what they have done is they have introduced an artificial intelligence application onto their website as an extra layer and a next generation thing. And they're using, I think it's Shopbox, which is one of many of these new amazing artificial intelligence bolt-ons that you can use. And what this does for Fee&Co is you can see there on it that when the customer is looking at a dress, they can click find similar, and it's almost like a sales advisor or a sales assistant pops up showing them, I think you should look at all of these garments as well. So this is about humanizing the e-commerce experience and making it a lot easier for the customer to shop. And just want to remind everybody that what really has happened over the last 2 years is that the pandemic has actually democratized retail. We always had this notion that the big guys and the guys that have, the hundreds and hundreds of stores have all the power. But actually the pace of change has been so fast over the last 2 years that the balance of power has switched to the indie, would you believe, the independent retailer. So everything that I've mentioned this evening is really accessible and is not crazy money. So the independent retailers, yay, we have the advantage because we can make the decisions very quickly and we can try things. And if they don't work, we can try other things. And then I just want to finish on this note, because I know we've talked a lot about some of the headwinds that are facing retail, and it can be really easy to go down the negative rabbit hole. But I think it's really important to remember that there is a lot of money in the economy. Despite the last 2 years, a lot of people still did have stable incomes. However, consumption went down because we were under restrictions and people couldn't get out and people couldn't get to go shopping. By November last year, there was over 135 billion on deposit in Ireland, accumulated in savings accounts. So it is all to play for, guys. All to play for. So I'm going to stop my share there, and I'm going to invite the rest of the panel back again, and we can have a look at some of the questions and things that have come up, because we've covered quite a lot of topics and it's been very whistle stop. So I'm going to whistle into the questions that have come through and ask a few, and there were a few that were quite specific to some of the panel members. So first question is one for myself and Duncan, actually. And Duncan, if you want to go first, and then I'll pitch in. This is a question from Ronan Gilroy. I recognise that name in Sligo, perhaps? Ronan Gilroy, Sligo. So Ronan would like to know, are Indigenous retailers under threat? Will Irish towns eventually look like the UK, i.e. all of the same? Now, I have a strong opinion on this. So do you want to go first?
It'd be interesting to see whether your opinion is the same as mine. I absolutely hope not, and I don't think it will. The reality of what's happened, I think, over the pandemic is, if you look at some of the people that have exited the Irish economy. It's people like Topshop, it's people like Debenhams, it's people like Carphone Warehouse. It's a lot of the UK retailers that have actually gone. What have they been replaced with? They've been replaced with international retailers, the Lululemons, the Canada Goose, that sort of thing that's come in. So, I think that's been really good for the Irish marketplace, actually, that we're seeing those international retailers coming through. But perhaps more importantly, it goes back to the localization thing. We've also seen a lot of Irish retailers. I mean, just look at what Jean's presentation was there. Irish retailers doing really good stuff. So let's face it, if it started to look all the same, we'd be going online all the time. It's about experience, and people want to see different things. And I really do feel that the future is going to be about a mix of retail. It's going to be about excitement, enjoyment. It's going to be that phygital thing that you mentioned before. It's hospitality and retail working very much together, hand in glove. So I think completely the opposite is going to happen. I don't think we're going to see anything like the move towards UK retailers that we've seen in previous years.
And you know what, I would really agree with that. I think that we heard a lot of very noisy fallout right at the beginning of the pandemic, but if you think back to the retailers that went, it was that mid-tier of the UK legacy retail that were probably in a lot of trouble before a pandemic hit.
It was all the same, Miriam, wasn't it?
It was.
You could walk around Cleary's, and then you could walk around down Henry Street, and you'd basically see the same repeated time and again.
You absolutely would. And actually, you've touched on something there, Duncan, that you've touched on something there. Apologies. You've touched on something there around the cross-category piece, because what's going to happen is that we're going to start seeing retail crossover into other industries. So the QR code thing that I was mentioning, for example, you'll be in a nice restaurant, you'll see a beautiful display of luxury product, and you'll scan the code and it'll bring you straight to the website. You'll see that in luxury hotels. We're going to start seeing the whole retail merge with other sectors.
And the other thing, Miriam, I think is that, we've seen a lot of these brands that have started up online that are now starting to find, try and experiment with a little bit of retail space. Simply, that's the way the customer wants to enjoy them. They want to see product they can pick up and feel and touch and smell. Those we shop with our senses, don't we? We
Absolutely.
Don't eyes, we shop with all our senses, and that's the future.
Now, I have a question here for Jean. This is really a direct question from somebody in the audience, Jean. So, do you manage your digital presence in-house, or do you outsource it to a digital marketing specialist?
No, we manage it all in-house, and we have 2 people working full-time on digital, literally creating content.
Full-time?
Full-time. Digital content between email and all the social media channels. Yeah, 2 full-time.
Wow, fantastic. Fantastic. And it really pays. I was actually admiring, there was a fantastic post that you put up today that was the lady in with a remote control, and every time she clicked it, her outfit changed. And I do wish that real life was just like that. I do.
Yeah, I would say that first time I hired someone into that space was probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was a game changer.
Yeah.
So if someone's considering that, it definitely is well worth it.
Question here for Orla. Just wondering how, this is from Fiona, just wondering how Instagram Reels compare to TikTok on reaching customers and lead sales.
Okay, Instagram Reels, obviously they've changed how they operate. It used to be before that you had to follow you to see your Reels. They've changed all of that. They got rid of IGTV, and now you have Reels, but they're only 1 minute, where TikTok at the moment are going up to 3 minutes. Instagram will show it for potentially 24 hours. You might get 48 hours, where TikTok it'll stay in the ecosystem for months, and I can guarantee you that. I've had experience directly off that, where it just comes up in the feed for some of the clients that we manage. Also, I mean, Instagram is going to get you sales without a shadow of a doubt, and I'm sure Jean can, verify that, because you used to do Instagram extremely well. You can set up your shop. TikTok is very much evolving. As I said, they've just introduced the orders. But TikTok, I mean, there's businesses on TikTok that have made their business from shown behind the scenes, packing an order with me, you know, showing their authentic self. It really is use video. I mean, if Instagram is your platform, start there, get familiar. But in terms of organic growth, you can really tap into TikTok for, you know, for no cost at all, apart from, you know, the videos that you create, and really getting good growth on that, because it's going to cost you money now to advertise. That's the reality, what's coming down the line. We see that already with Facebook. We see that with Instagram. However, if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing organically well, paying for advertising is only going to amplify what's not working well.
Brilliant, brilliant. Thank you, Orla. Now, next question here. I'm just going into the Q&A here. This is a question from Mark on QFit. It's good to see you, Mark. And Aidan, maybe if you start with this, and if you start to answer this one, and then we can all jump in. Do you feel that people trust brands rather than unknown brands, specifically online? Because with the known brands, they know what they're getting. What's your view on that, Aidan?
You see, I think it's one of those subjects that really hasn't changed much. The vehicle for communication might have changed, but I mean, down the years when we saw a BMW badge or a Sony badge on a TV set or whatever it was, I mean, we really didn't have the slightest notion what was inside the box, but we had trust in the brand, and the brand had told us that this was a superior product. So I think regardless of the means of communication, that point still holds true. But where the brand of the retail store is concerned, that's also true. So, I mean, the retail store, a local store, I mean, I've always bought televisions and washing machines and whatever else from one local store in Dundalk, rather than number one, I wanted to supply local, but number two, I knew that I could take the phone out of my pocket and give them a ring if anything went wrong. And I mean, that is brand in its own right. It's trust in the process, in that they're not going to sell me a pig in a boat, you know, because they're going to see me again in a fortnight's time. So I think that, you know, human relationships dominate everything always. And the modern technology and omni-channel sales and all the wonderful stuff that we have at our disposal now is terrific. But fundamentally, customers are people who have needs and desires and wants, and we are in business, and the more effectively that we can satisfy those, the more successful we're going to be. And I'm forever stepping back from the wonders of technology and think customer first. What are the customer's needs? And then, I mean, I'm in awe at the work that Jean is doing, because that level of management in HR and management of the people who are doing the digital stuff and so on, that takes a lot of management discipline. And I go back to the point again in relation, for a lot of small businesses, finding those resources are very, very difficult.
Thank you, Aidan. So I have a few more questions are coming through here. So there's a very direct question here for Jean. How much do you pay for a full-time social media? How much do you pay? This might be somebody who's looking for a job. How much do you pay for a full-time social media person? What skills are you looking for when you're recruiting one?
Oh, geez.
Pressure.
How do I answer that now without giving away salaries? So social media executive role, which would be junior enough, maybe 1 or 2 years experience, would probably start anywhere between 28,000 a year and 35,000 a year, 35 being a Dublin based salary and 28, more local. But if you were taking on somebody that had a good eye and a good feel for social media, maybe they didn't have qualifications in the area, you probably get away with 26, 27 until they kind of upskill. That's generally a gist. What was the other part of the question there?
No, that was, oh yes, what are the skills that you look for? So when you're recruiting your full-time social media person, because I think there's like probably half the retailers here are still going, a full-time social media person? Never mind two, they're going, but I do it while I'm having my dinner.
I know. Now you have to remember they're looking after paid advertising as well across all the digital channels. As opposed to me paying an agency. So I guess that's where the bit of saving is.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, what are the skills you look for when you're recruiting?
In general, I always look to make sure they're a cultural fit. So I often say, what are our values? We're warm, we're genuine, we're honest, and we're friendly. And if they can fit into that, they generally are the right hire. Obviously, they have to have all the other skills, but my motto always is to hire the smile and train the person.
Fantastic.
So while they might not have everything, if got the right attitude and a good work ethic, I can work with that.
Fantastic. And this is one for everybody on the panel. So because it's quite a digital question, and it'll be interesting to see if everybody agrees or disagrees on this. What is the average or the best time of day for online purchases? Where do you find most of your online purchases occur? And that's a question from Ronan. So what's the busiest time for shopping? And
that's one for Jean, surely, Miriam. Yeah.
Oh, you're getting teased here, Jean. Well, Jean, if you answer from a retail, women's, because I think it's different from sectors. So I remember some of the industries I worked in, the men always shopped very late at night. I know I'm being very generalist there, but gents like to shop at 1 o'clock in the morning, apparently. But generally, what are you finding from your experience? So actually, if we go round and put that to everybody. So actually, Jean, I'll give you a wee second. We'll go to Orla first, just to.
I would agree with you, Miriam, that it is very different per sector, and I think the correlation is making sure that you have your Instagram and your Facebook shop set up, you have your website shop set up, and you're directing people to that. A few years ago, there was some stat out about 3 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday was when people did most of their Christmas shopping and bought all their gifts. But, I think it's a direct correlation of how active you are on social media and how your people engage. I mean, if you look at your insights and get when your tribe is most active on social media, and then match your product post to that, I would advise.
And Aidan, have you anything to add to that?
Well, I think
we're doing a poll here.
Again, what you said about it varying from sector to sector, but I think one thing that's probably common to most sectors is that people live very, very busy lives. And I actually believe that there are tens of thousands of people who'd love to go shopping who just don't have time to go shopping. And so in that regard, I think times that are convenient to them. It's also interesting to see the enormous increase in what do they call us, the silver surfers. So I wonder if there is an, I'm sure you can dig out statistics, but
yeah,
I think the whole idea is surely that we make the process convenient.
Thank you, and can you all see that poll on the screen? So yes. So evening and nighttime, and actually there was a survey came out very recently. I think I might have put it out on social media about 2 weeks ago. It came out 2 weeks ago that indicated that actually, our habits have changed, and 7 o'clock till 10 o'clock at night is a very popular time for people to shop. Jean, do you have anything to add in here before we put Duncan on the spot again?
No, I would definitely see kind of that 7 to 10 window, with the peak being around 8, 9 o'clock. Once the kids kind of go to bed for my customer, that's where they are. And we also find a Sunday morning is always a really good jump, starting at about 10 o'clock that morning and good flow of sales to maybe about 2 o'clock that day.
Fantastic. That's really helpful. And Duncan, anything to add? Because you see, you're similar to me, where you see cross category.
Yeah, I definitely think that the evening piece, that early evening, mid-evening piece, you know, sitting there watching Coronation Street and then doing it seems to be the case. I always find it fascinating when I watch my wife, who seems to be able to multitask by using her phone and ordering something online and watching TV at the same time. But I think there's an awful lot of the population that can do that. I think the interesting thing, though, is often where the purchase decision is made. You know, is actually made because you've happened to have been in Willow in Ennis during the day and you've tried something on, but you've raced home or you've raced back to the office or whatever, and then you've made the purchase in the evening online. And I think increasingly that's the interesting space. You know, where is the decision made, and what does the future then look like? And I don't think we'll always see that the decision is made simply by scrolling the internet and deciding on a purchase. The decisions are probably made, you know, the previous weekend. You know, when you.
I don't know. I've done quite a bit of scrolling and clicking. Now I've got a couple. We've more questions. I know we've only got about 8 minutes left, so I want to get all of the questions in. So just going back to one of the questions that was asked earlier of Orla, which was about, you know, is TikTok not for the young? And there's a stat here: only 26% of TikTok users are between 15 and 25. Ron is saying we're all looking guilty here. Yeah, I've done a bit of scrolling by. So Ronan has commented here, 8:40 is apparently the world's average purchase time. So here are another question. How can retailers engage live? Any advice out there? That's quite a broad question. I'll give that question to Duncan.
How can retailers engage live?
Engage live.
Ooh. That's a difficult question. I think you've heard a lot of it today in terms of, you know, at 8:40
p.m. specifically.
8:40, you know.
How can you engage at 8:40? Actually, do you know what? I think he's having a laugh. Ronan, I know who you are, Ronan. What was I going to say? I think there is a piece here around authenticity and the customers wanting to engage with real people. Would you agree, Duncan?
Absolutely. I think that's very much the case, and I think that you know, even more so when it comes to the after sales service and the return situation.
Yeah.
And you know, you go back to your whole point around trust. You know, I think that piece, I think it's something we've really missed in the pandemic. Actually, is because we've been behind masks the whole time. We've lost that trust, and I think, you know, retail workers have actually come under a lot of pressure as a result of that. And I think that's something that needs to come back really quickly. You know, a smile is worth so much, isn't it?
It is.
And Miriam, if I may just pitch in there, because I think the point that Duncan's covering is hugely important. And digital skills are fine, and they're absolutely essential going forward. But I think we also need to think about organizational culture when we think about digital presence. And digital can be very cold and very clinical. But again, looking at what Jean is saying, and it's a lovely quote. You know, we employ people's personality and their smile first, and we do everything else after that. And I really think we kind of need to do the same with our digital process, because a lot of it can be very cold and clinical.
No, you're absolutely right. Now we've got time for two very quick questions. So the first one is, thank you for that, Aidan. The first one is, actually, this is quite this is from Janice. How quickly do you think people expect a response to their comments or their questions on social media on a Sunday? Instantly, yeah.
Think about how you shop or what you want. You know, you got to put yourself in the customer's shoe, and that we're on a always on and always switch on society. But again, sorry, I jumped in there, so I apologize, but it's all about automation. If you can identify, you know, what are common questions that you can ask? You can set up like automation process within the chatbot or whatever that will answer some of that. But yeah, the customers do expect, I would say, Jean, you may have a different opinion.
Yeah, I'm guessing that the person asked the question because I'm sure she probably had a little bit of resistance from her own team replying on a Sunday. And that can be a challenge. And I actually only rang a few retailers myself months ago because there was a little bit of friction amongst my own team about replying out of hours to figure out what were people doing, and it was really mixed. Some had customer service people that were scheduled on the weekends on a roster, some had the store staff doing it on a Saturday and a Sunday because they were on duty anyway, but out of hours didn't work. So it is a bit of a grey area, but the customer's expectations is that they do want you to reply straight away, and you do have a small window of opportunity to get them to purchase. So we do a roster, and they get time, they only work a shorter week then, and they get the hours back on the Sunday.
Just, can I just add there, it generally takes 9 to 12 points of contact before somebody buys from you. Littlewood have publicly said that it takes 14 points of contact, and they're like a huge online company with huge budgets. So, you know, Aidan alluded to it, you know, we all buy from people we know, like, and trust. You can't afford to miss that point of contact. Yeah. You know, you have to weigh up the cost.
Fantastic. Thank you, guys. Thank you all for participating. And I'll hand back to Thomas McAvoy, our host this evening.
Well, thank you, Miriam, and thank you all. I mean, that was fabulous. And there was an amazing mix of experience and insights, and I know I was learning throughout. I hope the audience was to say, I'm absolutely convinced the audience came away the same way. Before we wrap up, I have a couple of thank yous. And firstly, I'd like to thank the Minister English, for coming online tonight, for staying with us for most of the night. He shows a great passion for retail, and that's evident from the work that's going on inside the department. But I'd like to thank our speakers, because really we got some amazing insights into each of your businesses and your own experience, and bringing that together into one event. Really, for me, you know, it connected so many different parts of retail that I've been picking up over the last number of years. So well done all. Thank you for your preparation. Thank you for you know, sharing those learnings with us. Most importantly, I'd like to thank you, the audience, the retailers out there in the coalface. You guys are experiencing this day in, day out. You've been through 2 very tough, changing, challenging years. And the one message I have from this evening is connect with your local enterprise office. There's advice and help there, and we want to be able to help you. So come in, make contact. There's everything from a mentor program to various products such as the Lean program, the Green program, and so on. There's the trading online vouchers. So as I say, find out where your local enterprise office is, make contact with us, set up an appointment, and start that process. And finally, just a word of thanks to you, Miriam. I mean, being a fabulous host tonight, bringing it all together, sharing your insights, and showing us the future trends and what to look out for. I don't know whether it's scary or exciting, but it's only around the corner and it's happening. Yeah. So well done. Thanks for hosting. And I'm going to hand back to you, Miriam, now to wrap up for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thomas, and it's been a real pleasure to be here. Great that the Minister was able to join us for so much of the evening, and really huge thanks to the panel. And we've talked, you know, there's so many things that you know, all retailers can do to take their business to the next level. So massive thanks to Jean from Willow, to Duncan from Retail Excellence, Aidan from Optimum Results, Orla from OMD, and just to say, you know, the balance of power has changed. You know, the pandemic has democratized retail, so the power is with the SME retailers right now, if you only seize it. So just want to wrap up by saying that we wish you all the best, and we wish you great trading. Have a great year.
Thank you.